2 ships were once seen near land. One of them was leaving the harbor, the other one was coming into it. Everybody was cheering the outgoing ship, but the incoming one, it was scarcely noticed at all. A wise man standing near said, "Rejoice not over the ship setting out to sea, for we know not what destiny awaits it. Rather, rejoice over the ship that has reached port safely and brought back so many passengers in peace." Similarly, it's the way of our world, is it not, that when a child is born, everybody rejoices. And when the person dies, it's all sorrow. Well, perhaps it should be differently. For no one knows what troubles await a newborn infant. But when a person like Abe has lived a good, a rich, a long life, 92 years, then we can really only give thanks. Thanks for the journey that he made. Adonai Mo'onata Yitalanu B'dor V'dor B'terem Harim Yuladu V'achlaretz B'tevel. God, you've been our dwelling place in every generation. Before the mountains were brought forth, before the earth was formed, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. 1,000 years in your sight, they're but as yesterday when past. All of us bring our years to an end as a tale that is told. So teach us to number our days. Teach us to use them wisely. And satisfy us that we may rejoice every single day that we're alive. Please, join me, if you will, now in the English version of our people's 23rd Psalm on the very back page of the program booklets that you all received upon entering this chapel. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever, as we all of us say together now. Amen. Amen. There's a story told in our people's tradition. It's a story about a traveler who once came upon an old man who was planting a fruit tree. When, he asked, when do you think you're really going to be able to eat the fruit of the tree? In several years, replied the old man. Do you really think you're going to live that long? The traveler queried, and the fellow responded, I didn't find this world empty when I entered it. So now I'm going to plant for those who come after me. that story, the story of the traveler, could well be the story of the life that Abe lived. Of a fellow who always seemed to be doing for others, or giving to others, or planting for those around him. And surely nobody, no one could have known that to be truer than his Anna of blessed memory. After all, they spent some 64 years together as husband and wife, and they managed to build a wonderful life for themselves, filled with all the blessings that really matter when push comes to shove. By that I mean they weren't material people, they weren't ostentatious folk, they cherished their family and their friends, and that's all they really cared about. In fact, on the occasion of their 50th wedding anniversary, they had a wonderful family party, and thank God they were both well enough to enjoy every solitary moment of that festivity and relish the memories long after it was over. Through the course of the years, they made some trips, of course, to New Hampshire, to visit family there, on a bus tour through Yosemite National Park, from which they derived a lot of enjoyment. But most of all, by far, they looked forward to their trips to a place where in those days everybody went. I'm referring, of course, to the Catskills. I remember when I was a kid, that's where my folks used to go. Everybody, because there was no Vegas, there was no Atlantic City, people weren't really coming that much yet to Florida, but the Catskills, that was where it was happening. Places like the Raleigh and the Nevele and Grossinger's and the bungalows. They had wonderful entertainment, the best comedians of that era, and Abe and Anna really looked forward to those well-deserved excursions. Abe worked hard, and he was entitled. Donna, Phyllis, as a father, I like to tell it like it is. He was no piece of cake, no pushover for sure. Your mom was the easygoing one in the family. Your dad didn't roll over. He had standards. He had some fairly lofty expectations. But here's the thing. He never expected anything from the two of you that he would not have demanded from himself. He was very consistent in that regard. And he was always caring and nurturing and supportive of your interests. Phyllis, whether it was your schooling, the progress that you made, Donna, your cheerleading in the local football games. In fact, your dad was your biggest cheerleader, really, when it came to anything that you were doing. And the most important thing that can be said about your relationship, I think, is this. Your father's love for you was not predicated on whether he agreed or disagreed with what you were doing. Ultimately, it was an unconditional love that he had in his heart for you. And of course, I also want to make mention of His sisters-in-law, that would be both Francises, and his sister Annie of blessed memory as well. Abe. Abe was incredibly talented